black and white. So
7:45 here at the Breakfast Club. Delighted to be in with you. The long weekend coming ahead. By the way, wherever you're watching from, it is Family Day on Monday in this part of the world. So traffic was a little lighter this morning as people are making a long weekend of it. I'm delighted to be. We're delighted to be joined this morning by a good friend, Jim Barker, whose contract was extended as the GM of the Argos through 2015. Congratulations are in order, Mr. Barker.
Well, thank you, Bryan. I appreciate that. I'm very excited to be able to stay here in Toronto.
You know, one of the things that I can do, Jim, and you've known me for all my years through producing and everything else, is that I can Mike Keenan, I've got every phone number from him from Boston to Vancouver. I could tell his whole career just looking at my phone directory. And you, my friend, I've got Calgary, I've got Las Vegas, I got California, I got Toronto. I've known you for a long time, and I know that people were questioning why this didn't get done before, but in talking to you, you weren't really nervous about it. You just felt other things took precedence, and you were confident you were going to get extended.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there were other things more pressing in the organization, and you know, when you've been in this, and as you know from having my phone book, how often you get fired, you don't worry about that stuff, and I do the best job I can every day to make this team a team that the people of Toronto are proud of, and a team that will contend for championships every year. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I don't worry about the job stuff. And Chris Rudge and I had spoken prior to the playoffs even, and I trusted him that things would get done. And we just went about, you know, given the more pressing issues and you know, securing our coach and our coaching staff and that type of thing. So I'm happy with the way everything worked out and excited about the next 3 years.
Well, free agency kicks in at noon today. But before we get to what's coming, how do you possibly top what you just did?
Well, you know, to win back-to-back is almost it was difficult being the host team in Toronto and having the 100th Grey Cup and those types of things, and that's a tough thing to do. But to go back is almost tougher, and that's been the goal. I mean, after the parade, the day after the parade, it was get back to work and you know, do the things we have to do to try to take this team to, you know, being even more dominant. And I felt at the end of the season we were the most dominant team in the league, which is what you want to be in the playoff run. And now hopefully we'll pick up where we left off last year. And obviously in the CFL, as in any pro sports team, you're going to have turnover, and we'll turn over probably 25% of our, you know, our coaching staff just through natural guys getting jobs, and our football team through guys either retiring and moving on, and you know, taking more money somewhere else. And it's just part of what goes on in a normal year. And my job is to try to make sure we maintain some continuity and we get some you know, the right locker room, that we get the right kind of people in here that we can go and do what I think is one of the most difficult things in all of sports, and that's to repeat as champions.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you on this morning is because as you're talking, we're running footage of the Grey Cup win in Toronto, 100th year of the Grey Cup, and all of that, the fairy tale that it was. But it's rare that the defending champion can avoid large amounts of off-season turnover because guys, you know, want to cash in on their contract. To be specific, I was just watching Chad Cackert there in one of his great runs, and I guess Ricky Foley are two of the guys that are potential free agents and may try the open market. For you going into this free agent period, what do you think the main areas you're going to be looking at, Jim?
Well, we have to. I look at free agency as a time to add a player here and a player there. Obviously, we're going to lose some players. You know, Chad is looking at some NFL opportunities, and Ricky's looking around to see what he can do for himself. And you know, both of those players are players we'd like to have back. But part of what my job is establishing what I think a player's value is, and you know, not overpaying because, you know, guys had a good game or that kind of thing. So, my job right again free agency is to plug that right player that the coaching staff feels can step in and help us get to the next level and help us become the type of team we were at the end of last year. So that's what we're doing. We're very select in who we go after. It won't be a lot, and by no stretch is this the way that I believe I don't think you build teams. You just augment them with free agency. And as we did with Bryan. We signed Robbie because he was something we didn't have. He's a top-end speed guy that can blow the top off the coverage, but we didn't have that. Dontrell Inman's a great route runner and great hands, and Jason Barnes very similar. Andre Gurley and Chad Owens are two guys real good with the ball in their hands, but we didn't have that guy to blow the top off the coverage. And in Robbie, we get that, and we get a guy who's a great special teams player and great in the locker room. And so he's something we didn't have. That's what free agency is about: is to go after and see if you can either upgrade over a player that you did have with a player that you feel and the coaching staff feels is a better fit for what we do, or also the finding that that match of something you may not have.
Can you? I know you can't tell us at this point who you might be looking at, and you probably wouldn't anyway. But can you tell us what positions you might want to be shoring up at free agency?
Right. Obviously, it's a lot of it depends on what the rates are for different players, and we have values placed on players, and we're going to stay very close to those. I think that's one of the keys to being successful is you have to, with the salary cap that we have, which is a very tight salary cap, you have to be very disciplined in your approach, and you can't fall in love with any one particular player. You have to be open. I think that a big part of the CFL of success is scouting and the free agents that this time last year nobody had heard of Marcus Ball and nobody had heard of Armand Armstead, and finding those guys are the key to being successful. Dontrell Inman, nobody had heard of him. Right. So there's a lot of players that are out there that our fans haven't heard of. That's the key to winning in the CFL. Is finding enough of those guys each year to fill the spots of guys that move on and choose to go elsewhere.
Jim Barker joins us at 7:53 here on the Breakfast Club. Bryan, Angus, Billy Hayes in with you as we are every morning between 7 o'clock and 9 Monday to Friday. Jim, we talked to John Gibbons, the skipper of the Blue Jays, and boy, there's a lot of hype about that team going into the year, about how different it is this time around from, because the Jays always came in with the division they're in flying under the radar. This year, the mindset going in is completely different because they're expected to win. Much could be say the same of you as the year before last. Of course, you didn't have a great season. And last year you went right to the penthouse. The fact of the matter is, I'm guessing coming back in next year, you're going to have a completely different mindset going in as a defending champions. Which is more difficult, coming in flying under the radar or coming in expected to be the favorites?
Well, obviously being the favorites is more difficult and more pressure, and I think that when you're flying under the radar, people, whatever you do good is expected. And John Gibbons has been here before. He knows Toronto and he knows this market and this media base of which you are one. And I think that he's the right fit for what they've done here. I think his personality and the way he does things. So this is an exciting year, but there's a lot on for Toronto. They've put their eggs in, and now it's time for the players to produce. So it's going to be an interesting year watching the Blue Jays as they progress. But it was very similar to us getting Ricky Ray. As soon as you get a Ricky Ray, the expectation level goes way up, and with that, there's a pressure that inherently we put on each other anyway, but and put on ourselves. But that grows a bit, I think, with the expectation. So there's a lot of R.A. Dickey and Burley and all those pitchers, that pitching staff. They're going to come in here with a lot of pressure and high expectations, but
got to ask you, Jim. You mentioned the Blue Jays. One of the things that's being talked about is them sometime in the near future putting real grass in the dome, and there's been a suggestion that would cause a problem for you guys. Firstly, would that be a problem? And second, if it is, have you given thought to what the club might do if they can't play there?
Well, to be honest with you, those are things that Chris Rudge deals with. It's not really in my realm of things that I get involved with. So I don't know. I think that with the grass field, it just depends on how long it takes to transform the grass baseball into grass football, and can that happen? And are they willing to do that? I don't know any of the questions to any of that. I know we have, and I believe it's another 5 years with the Rogers Center. But in terms of the details of all those things and what might happen after that, those are things that Chris Rudge deals with. I have a hard enough time just.
I get that. Let me ask you something on that though. If the Argos played on a grass field, how would it impact you in terms of looking at potential players?
Well, a lot of it would depend on the quality of the field. I mean, there's been some great grass fields, and then there's been, some grass fields that are not so great. So it really doesn't impact anything we do. I mean, we're a team because we play indoors and we play on a very fast turf that speed is the top priority. When you're playing on grass, that can neutralize some of the any kind of speed advantage you might have. But again, those are things that I don't concern myself with.
Jimmy, what do you got? I'm just thinking as you're talking. What is it? 3 fields in the league that have Montreal, Saskatchewan.
That have what?
The grass. No, it's Montreal, Edmonton for sure. I think Edmonton's one of the better grass fields.
Edmonton doesn't have grass anymore.
It's gone now as well, is it? So how many grass fields are left in the league?
There's 0.
Wow.
Nobody has grass.
There you go. I see. I wasn't sure if they still had it there in Montreal. Listen, at 7:57, I know that you like an occasional day down at Woodbine, and you, my friend, when I've got numbers for you for everyone, I've actually had to call you out in California at some point in time. I didn't know that you grew up right beside Santa Anita Racetrack.
Yes, that was my hometown, Arcadia, and I went to Arcadia High, played Little League across the street from the racetrack. So I used to cut grass and earn some money and ride over on my bicycle, have an old man say he was my dad so I could get in. I was 10 years old and reading the racing form and asking people to bet on horses for me. So I've loved the horses forever. Sandy Hawley, who's a great Canadian legend, my roommate used to be his agent. So it's it's just horse racing has been in my blood ever since. Arcadia is very much a horse town, and it's the way I was raised. So yeah, I love getting out to Woodbine whenever I can get out there.
Well, Jimmy,
Santa Anita is a great track too.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful in the world, I think.
Oh man!
And to watch a race on a winter, a Christmas when they open the day after Christmas, and to watch on a crisp winter day them running down the turf course with the foothills in the background. There's no more beautiful scene, and like I say, it's to play golf in the morning and then go and hit the track in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot better days.
No, I hear you. One of the things I found, I was out at one of the Breeders' Cups a few years ago, and the where they start those horses on the sprints, I've never seen anything like that. That's actually downhill they're running.
Yeah, they run downhill, and when it's on the turf, it's downhill, and it's just a beautiful scene, and if you haven't seen it, it's one of those just spectacular things where they come down the hill. But no, that's been one of my favorite hobbies since I was a kid.
Well, we could do a whole show with you sometime, Jim, just talking about the changes that are going to be happening at Woodbine, sadly, with the Ontario government's decision to stop the income that they've been getting from the slot machines and the impact it's going to have on racing in this province. I'm telling you, it's got a lot of people who are involved in racing beside themselves right now, but that's a whole other story. My friend, congratulations again. It's going to be great to have you around for at least 3 more years, and good to know I won't need any more new numbers for you for a while.
Right, and I have a name that you can pronounce.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Barkay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks. Talk to you guys later.